Chloe Peterson says, sources confirmed to me, Caitlin Clark suffered a very mild bone bruise in her left ankle on August the 7th. So Caitlin Clark basically got hurt again. How did she get hurt again? I don't know. It's definitely looking hella spooky right now, because if Caitlin was hurt and supposed to have been not doing certain things, how do the Fever organization allow her to get hurt again?
Caitlin Clark, the face of women's basketball right now, has once again become the center of attention. But this time, for all the wrong reasons. Reports are now surfacing that Clark has suffered yet another setback with a new injury, sparking widespread panic across the WNBA, her fan base, and the entire sports community. The Indiana Fever's franchise player has already been carrying enormous expectations on her shoulders, not only from her team, but from the league itself. After all, Clark's arrival wasn't just about basketball, it was about transforming the WNBA into a global brand. She's been the ticket seller, the ratings booster, the reason why arenas are packed from coast to coast. But now, with this injury news breaking, the big question is clear. What happens to the WNBA without Caitlin Clark at full strength? Today, we're diving deep into every angle of this shocking story. How this new setback affects Clark's career, the Indiana Fever's season, the WNBA's future, and even the ongoing rivalry narratives surrounding players like Angel Reese, Sophie, Cunningham, and others. So sit tight, because this isn't just another sports update. This is a potential turning point in the league's history. The rise of Caitlin Clark. To understand why this injury setback is so devastating, we first have to revisit Clark's incredible rise. Coming out of Iowa, Caitlin Clark wasn't just a great college player, she was a generational phenomenon. Breaking records left and right, she became the NCAA's all-time leading scorer, electrifying fans with her logo threes, elite playmaking, and fearless confidence. She wasn't just playing basketball, she was redefining what it meant to be a women's sports star. Every Iowa game felt like an event. Tickets sold out months in advance. ESPN broadcasts broke viewership records. And when she declared for the WNBA draft, it was already clear. The Indiana Fever were about to land the most hyped prospect the league had ever seen. Draft night was a spectacle. The Fever drafted Clark #1 overall, and from the moment she walked across that stage, she became the league's biggest draw. But with that spotlight comes pressure. Clark entered the WNBA with expectations that no rookie had ever faced. She wasn't just expected to win games, she was expected to save the league, and for the most part, she lived up to the hype. Clark immediately boosted ticket sales, drew national media coverage, and brought in casual fans who had never watched a WNBA game before. But with all that came a brutal reality. She was now the target, the physical toll. From day one, Clark faced the kind of defensive pressure most rookies never see. Teams weren't just trying to beat the Fever, they were trying to send a message. Game after game, Clark absorbed hard fouls, trash talk, and relentless defensive schemes. Every opposing player wanted to be the one who shut her down, the one who showed the world that Caitlin Clark wasn't invincible. And while Clark proved her toughness, it was obvious the physical toll was adding up. By mid-season, she was already leading the league in minutes played, shouldering an impossible offensive load, and still expected to perform at superstar levels. Fans noticed it. Analysts noticed it. Even former WNBA players commented that Clark was taking too much contact without enough protection from officials. The welcome to the WNBA treatment was starting to look like a targeted campaign against the league's new star. And that brings us to today's bombshell, a new injury setback. While details are still developing, early reports suggest that Clark's new injury isn't just a minor tweak. It's something that could sideline her for weeks or even months, depending on recovery. The Fever, already struggling to build momentum in a tough Eastern Conference, now face the terrifying possibility of being without their franchise centerpiece for an extended stretch. For Clark personally, this is devastating. She's already battled through bumps and bruises all season, but this new setback raises serious concerns. Is Clark being overworked? Did the Fever fail to properly manage her minutes? Has the league failed to protect its most important player? The answers to those questions could shape not only Clark's career, but the future of the WNBA itself. What this means for the Fever. The Indiana Fever built their entire season and arguably their entire franchise identity around Caitlin Clark. She was the face of every marketing campaign, the centerpiece of their offense, and the leader in the locker room despite being a rookie. Without her, the Fever are in serious trouble. Aaliyah Boston, the team's other star, will have to step into an even bigger role. But as great as Boston is, she doesn't draw the same defensive attention that Clark does. Without Clark spreading the floor and creating opportunities, Boston could struggle to carry the offense by herself. The Fever's guards and role players will also be tested like never before. Players like Lexi Hull, Kelsey Mitchell, and Nalisa Smith will have to prove they can hold the line without Clark, but realistically, the gap is huge. And then there's the fan factor. Will fans still pack arenas if Clark isn't on the court? Or will the Fever's attendance and TV ratings collapse without her? These are the tough questions Indiana has to face right now. What this means for the WNBA. Here's where things get even bigger. Caitlin Clark isn't just important to the Fever. She's the single biggest driver of WNBA growth right now. We've seen it in ticket sales, in jersey sales, in record-breaking TV numbers. Clark's impact has been historic, and the league has leaned heavily into her popularity to sell its product. But now, with Clark sidelined, the WNBA faces a nightmare scenario. TV ratings could plummet. Ticket sales for away games could dry up. Merchandise revenue could stall. And most importantly, the momentum that Clark created for women's basketball could take a massive hit. The league was already under criticism for not doing enough to protect Clark from rough play and intentional fouls. Now, this injury setback only fuels that narrative. Fans are already asking, did the WNBA fail Caitlin Clark? The rivalry narrative. Of course, no story about Caitlin Clark can be told without mentioning her rivalries, most notably with Angel Reese. Reese has been positioned as Clark's foil since their college days. Their matchups draw massive attention, with fans split into camps. Some love Clark, others love Reese, and together they've created the most compelling rivalry in the sport. But with Clark potentially sidelined, that storyline takes a hit. Reese and the Chicago Sky may still generate headlines, but without Clark on the court, those matchups lose their magic. The league thrives on these rivalries, and now one half of its biggest one might be missing. It's the same with players like Sophie Cunningham, who's often framed as Clark's agitator. Without Clark, those narratives lose steam. This isn't just about one player being injured. It's about the entire storytelling fabric of the league being disrupted. The business fallout. Let's talk money. When Clark entered the league, sponsorship deals, media coverage, and merchandise sales exploded. The Fever suddenly became a national brand. Even struggling franchises saw attendance spikes when Clark came to town. If Clark is out for an extended time, the WNBA risks losing millions in potential revenue. Broadcasters might see ratings drop, sponsors might cool off. The Clark effect, that was driving so much growth, could stall. This is why some analysts are already calling this injury the WNBA's worst-case scenario. Because for better or worse, the league's fortunes are tied to Caitlin Clark's health. Can Clark bounce back? The big question remains. Can Caitlin Clark bounce back from this setback? If there's one thing we know about Clark, it's that she's resilient. She's been doubted before. She's been targeted before. And every time, she's responded with even greater determination. But this time is different. This is about her body, her long-term durability, and the possibility that the league she's trying to carry is also wearing her down. Clark will need time, rest, and the right medical care to recover. She may also need the Fever and the league to rethink how they use her. Because one thing is clear. If Clark's health continues to be compromised, it's not just her career that suffers, it's the entire WNBA. The fans react. Social media has already exploded with reactions to Clark's injury news. Fans are devastated, angry, and demanding answers. Some blame the WNBA for failing to protect her. Others blame the Fever for overworking her. And some are simply heartbroken that the player who brought them into the sport might not be on the court. The divide is real. For every fan who says she'll come back stronger, there's another saying, the league doesn't deserve her. This emotional reaction highlights just how much Clark means to the game right now. She's not just a player, she's a movement. What happens next? 68-75 minutes. So where do we go from here? In the short term, the Fever will have to rally without Clark. Expect Aaliyah Boston to step up and expect other players to get more opportunities. But realistically, the team's playoff hopes could take a major hit. For the WNBA, this is a wake-up call. The league must address player protection, officiating standards, and scheduling demands. Because if Caitlin Clark can't stay healthy, the entire business model they've built could collapse. And for Clark herself, the next few weeks and months will define her career. She'll need to prioritize her recovery, even if it means missing games. Because the long-term goal isn't just surviving this season, it's building a career that can last a decade or more. So there you have it, the shocking reality of Caitlin Clark's new injury setback. It's a moment that has shaken the Fever, the WNBA, and fans across the world. Will she bounce back stronger? Or will this injury change the trajectory of her career and the future of the league? One thing's for sure, Caitlin Clark's journey has always been about more than just basketball, and this new chapter may be her toughest test yet. What do you think? Did the WNBA fail to protect Caitlin Clark? Or is this just the reality of being a superstar in today's game? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, because this is a conversation every basketball fan needs to be part of. And as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an update. This story is far from over.